Um, so now I have two small questions. Number one is that are members of your co-op are all owners of their own cars, or they are? Is that practical for drivers who rent cars from this rental fleet to join you? Because probably the co-op will be against to pay, to form that kind of commercial relations as Uber has done with the fleet. Oh, actually, it's up to the driver individual if they are happy to pay the rent separately. And secondly, so far, what are the major structural obstacles you have faced? How did the Uber, Lyft react? How has this rental fleet reacted to your initiative?
Great question. We're to become a member of the cooperative, someone just has to be a driver, which means they need to hold a TLC license. So actually, I'm not even a member of, well, actually, I do have a TLC license, so I could be a member, but I haven't actually formally joined the cooperative that I helped create, which is kind of funny. I don't even have a share. Um, it's sort of the complete opposite of most forms of entrepreneurialism, where the people who start it just try to keep it all for themselves. We literally gave it all away. We had ceremonies in the park where we gave away the equity to drivers. But yeah, so we want drivers to, the economics are any driver can join, and most of our members are sort of career drivers who invested in their own vehicle, but we're definitely open to drivers who have not been able to do that. Drivers who rent their vehicles, it's often because they don't have good enough credit to get a loan to buy a vehicle, and they get stuck in this really horrible treadmill of these weekly rentals, which cost sometimes double or triple what it would cost if you owned your own vehicle. Um, so we've created tools to help our members get ownership of their own vehicles and at lower costs. And our hope is now to facilitate a switch to electric vehicles. Um, we've done that through a partnership with a credit union. So the difference, of course, between a bank and a credit union is a bank is owned by outside investors, and a credit union is owned by the people who use it. It's a co-op essentially. And so through that, some of our members are able to refinance their auto loans. We have members who've gone from paying $1,500 a month, which meant they were never able to take a day off, to paying $500 a month, which is a life-changing change. And that's just with a simple partnership that we were able to create. Um, there's also interesting politics around credit unions in the United States. The banking industry does not like credit unions, of course, because it's essentially a nonprofit model. And so they've been able to create very restrictive rules at the federal level that limit who can join a credit union. We were able to find usually you have to either work at first for an employer or live in a certain neighborhood or belong to a certain group of somehow. We were able to find a credit union that established a special partnership with us, so that all of our members can join. So that's one way we're tackling that problem. Um, and then I think the other part of your question, the barriers. I mean, it's been one challenge after another, honestly. I think the irony, I think, in all of this is that it sounds very cliched, but fundamentally, a company like any company, and I think this is maybe how my own thinking on companies has evolved from being more of a union organizer now to being basically an entrepreneur, um, is, although a critical theory informed entrepreneur, is that a company is basically a group of people who are organized together around a common goal of some kind. And there's questions that usually companies are organized very hierarchically. We are not. It's very democratic. We have drivers involved in every single decision we make. There's no room in this co-op where there's not a driver, at least one driver at the table. And there's reporting to our members about everything. So we're about, for example, we're about to try to raise $1 million in order to really expand operations in New York City. And then if we can raise more than that, we'll expand to other cities. Our securities lawyer will be meeting with our members who are drivers to talk about how are we going to do this in a way which maintains driver ownership, which actually goes to maybe the first big challenge we faced was capital, getting access to capital. Um, It's quite a chicken and an egg because a lot of potential investors will tell you that you need to show us what they call traction. There's a whole sort of lexicon of terms of the world of capital markets that I've only begun to learn. I sound like a complete idiot in these rooms, but I have a partner who she comes from that world, so she speaks the language. I just try not to open my mouth too much. I'm the labor organizer and academic. The but yeah, so they ask you to show traction, which means show that you're operating and making money and validate the model you have. But of course, you can't do that without capital. So how do you get around this chicken and egg? I mean, the way we did it was through what sometimes people call sweat equity, which is, people volunteering their time, investing their time without pay, working nights, working weekends, and so forth. We have a compensation plan until now that is you could define as from each according to their ability to each according to their need. That's how we're paying ourselves and our staff. It's kind of a stipend model, which is something that's very common in the social movement world. We're doing it in the business world, and it's working. What's been so interesting about this process is that because companies fundamentally are so similar in some ways to a labor union, it's a group of people coming together for a common purpose. We've been able to use so many of the same tools. And I think what we've ended up with is like this really unusual, experimental, sort of Frankensteinish company. And I'm frankly just going to be fascinated to see what it does in the world.
That's very interesting. I think one difference between trade union and a company is probably trade union, of course, is about mobilization and very much event driven, right?
Yes.
Your company is kind of daily routine operation.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating to hear you talk about sweat equity. This is a side question. I'm just wondering how you create an accounting system to record that. I mean, will have to. It sounds like you are inventing new type of currency in the place of conventional capital, right? So in order to, I suppose, to create to record who contribute what, and then how you work that out, and to provide a sustained incentive to all the members, right, in a fair and transparent way. I mean, this is a side question that we can explore in the future. Yeah.